Next on WoodSongs, we celebrate the music of the mountains in Appalachia with the legendary Emmylou Harris, plus Daryl Scott, John and Patricia Adams, and more.
There that I met him, there that I lost my best friend. Now I live in the mountains, I drifted up here with the wind.
WoodSongs is made possible by Visit Lex.com, providing information and activities to visitors of historic Lexington, Kentucky. The Martin Guitar Company in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, making handcrafted acoustic guitars since 1833. The Deering Banjo Company, providing American-made banjos for front porch pickers and professionals, online at deeringbanjos.com. And by Fransky String Instruments of Prairie Village, Kansas, online at mfstrings.com.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride, his name is Hank Williams, the drifting cowboy.
On the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Bruce Hornsby.
Hi, this is Kevin Moe.
Hey folks, this is Bela Fleck.
Hi folks, this is Sam Bush.
Hello, this is Odetta.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, gather the family around and sit back in your easy chair. It's time again for the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour, our worldwide celebration of grassroots music. Let's welcome folk singer, author, and tree hugger, Michael Johnathon.
There's a front porch round the old home place. All my troubles disappear without a trace. And children play all summer long. The world feels right and nothing's wrong. And fireflies dance on a starry night round the old front porch tonight. Round the old front porch tonight. There's a front porch round my true love's eyes. I could sit and watch that girl all my life. And in her eyes, this world feels right. She's a gentle and peaceful sight. And since the day that girl became my wife, I've had a front porch round my life. I've had a front porch round my life. We need a front porch round the world. We need a front porch round America. We gotta slow it down and learn to set a spell. Start serving lemonade instead of hell. I wish these leaders could outlaw fear. I wish they'd lead from a rocking chair. We need a front porch around the world. We need a front porch around the world. We need a front porch around the world. Welcome to the historic Kentucky Theater. Here we are. It's not the Kentucky Theater. It's the historic Lexington Opera House. Of course, we usually come from the Kentucky Theater every week, but we've got a very special event. So we moved our show to a beautiful historic room here in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We're at the crossroads of America's folk and bluegrass music, the gateway city to the beautiful, magnificent, precious Appalachian Mountains, and that is the subject of this show. We have a very important message for people, and we have several artists that have come on our broadcast to let our audience know of how a wonderful, wonderful place of North America is being threatened. And we want to get that message out with music, with stories, with art. And artists come from all over the world to be on our stage. You don't have to be famous to be on our show. You just have to be very, very good. And we do have a very special legacy artist to introduce to you, but I want to set the setting for the show and what the show is about. And like I said, we were talking about the Appalachian Mountains, this beautiful mountain range in North America where so much art and music comes from. And I thought that a way to introduce the subject of our two very special broadcasts is with a poem by an Appalachian writer named James Still. And the poem is called Heritage. Listen to the words closely. It'll be recited by a good friend of ours, a poet and a writer from the University of Kentucky. Her name is Nikki Finney, and the poem is called Heritage.
I shall not leave these prisoning hills, though they topple their barren heads to level earth, and the forests slide uprooted out of the sky. Though the waters of Troublesome, of Trace Fork, of Sand Lick rise in a single body to glean the valleys, to drown lush pennyroyal, to unravel rail fences. Though the sunball breaks the ridges into dust and burns its strength into the blistered rock, I cannot leave. I cannot go away. Being of these hills, being one with the fox, stealing into the shadows, one with the newborn foal, the lumbering ox drawing green beech logs to mill, one with the destined feet of man climbing and descending, and one with death rising to bloom again. I cannot go. Being of these hills, I cannot pass beyond.
Sumasik on the banjo. The voice of Nikki Finney, the words of a wonderful Appalachian poet named James Still, talking about his homeland, the hills, the mountains, the hollers, and this is what we are devoting our broadcast to, the preciousness, the beauty, the wonderment of these wonderful mountains. And we're going to do that in the voice of our very special guest. We're glad that she's here, and she's going to start off with a very appropriate song called Green Rolling Hills. Please welcome Emmylou Harris and the Red Dirt Boys to the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio Hour.
Oh, the green rolling hills of West Virginia are the nearest thing to heaven that I know. Though the times are sad and drear, and I cannot linger here, they'll keep me and never let me go. My daddy said, don't ever be a miner, for a miner's grave is all you'll ever own. For the hard times everywhere, I can't find a dime to spare. These are the worst times I've ever known. But the green rolling hills of West Virginia are the nearest thing to heaven that I know. Though the time is sad and drear, and I cannot linger here, they'll keep me and never let me go. So I'll move away into some crowded city, in some northern factory town. You'll find me there. Though I'll leave the past behind, I'll never change my mind. These troubled times are more than I can bear. But the green rolling hills of West Virginia are the nearest thing to heaven that I know. Though the times are sad and drear, and I cannot linger, they'll keep me and never let me go. But someday I'll go back to West Virginia, to the green rolling hills I love so well. Yes, someday I'll go home, and I know I'll right the wrong. These troubled times will follow me no more. Yes, someday I'll go home, and I know I'll right the wrong. These troubled times will follow me no more. Thank you so much.
It's the voice of Emmylou Harris, her band, the Red Dirt Boys, Ricky Simpkins on mandolin, Phil Madeira on accordion, Chris Donahue on bass. Good band. Emmylou, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. My first time. Proud to be here.
We've been wanting you and waiting for you for a long time. I know the audience is very excited that you're here. So.
Thank you so much. A beautiful theater. It's always great to play these old theaters that haven't been knocked down to make a mini mall.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of the subject of what we're talking about. You know, things are getting knocked down, and we're going to devote our show to that. Now, you are known all over the world. You've had all this wonderful musical success, but you have dedicated yourself to many important causes. Landmines, for one.
Right, getting rid of them.
Yeah, right. Tell us about that. You've been doing that for a while.
Well, it's something that I met a fellow named Bobby Muller who was dedicated to the Vietnam War veterans, and he had seen the devastation of landmines in Cambodia and Vietnam when he went back after peace was declared. But of course, there were so many landmines still left in the ground. You know, usually we pack our weapons and tanks and guns, put them away, but unfortunately the landmines stayed in the ground. And I know at one time in Cambodia there were more landmines than people.
Yeah.
But with the work of Bobby Muller and his organization, and also Princess Diana did a great deal to alert the world to the terrible tragedy of landmines. So it's still going on. It's still a poor man's weapon, but hopefully at least the world has become aware. And I think what's important about what we're trying to do tonight is communicate to people a terrible thing that's happening that most of us don't know about until just a very short few years ago. I didn't know what was happening in the Appalachians.
Now, we're going to be pursuing that with a dogged vengeance through this hour. Now, you have a kinship to the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of the music and the art that you have created your own legacy with came from that area.
Well, you know, I was born in Alabama, where we don't really have a lot of mountains, but we have a lot of red dirt. But the music that I became so emotionally involved in and attached to, the country music and the mountain music that is so beautiful and so much a part of our culture, really it was born in the Appalachian Mountains, in the valleys, by the immigrants who came over, the French and not the French, but maybe some French, English, Irish, and Scots, who made this beautiful music that has filtered down into our culture. And really, the Appalachians are the sacred ground for the country music that so much of us love. And that's why it's kind of terrible what's happening there right now.
Well, through history, I mean, the country music history, you've got the Carter family from that area and all their music, the Stonemans, all their music.
Oh, yes. I mean, it just goes back to the very beginnings of our nation.
Right. Well, we're going to keep continuing our conversation with you and with other artists. We've got several special guests on this broadcast, but let's keep going with the music. We're very glad that you're here. It's a song called Kern River. It's Emmylou Harris and the Red Dirt Boys on the WoodSongs. Old time.
I'll never swim Kern River again. It was there that I met him, there that I lost my best friend. Now I live in the mountains, I drifted up here with the wind. And I may drown in still water, but I'll never swim Kern River again. He grew up in an oil town, but that gusher never came in. And the river was a boundary where my darling and I used to swim. One night in the moonlight, the swiftness swept his life away. Now I live on Lake Shasta. Lake Shasta is where I will stay. There's a South San Joaquin where the seeds of the Dust Bowl are found. And there's a place called Mount Whitney, from where the mighty Kern River comes down. Well, it's not deep nor wide, but she's a mean piece of water, my friend. And I may cross on the highway, but I'll never swim Kern River again. I'll never swim Kern River again. It was there that I met him, there that I lost my best friend. Now I live in the mountains, I drifted up here with the wind. And I may drown in still water, but I'll never swim Kern River again. swim Kern River again. It's there that I met, there that I lost my best friend. Now I live in the mountains, I drifted up here with the wind, and I may cross on the highway, but I'll never swim Kern River again. I'll never swim Kern River again.
Song is Kern River. The beautiful voice of Emmylou Harris on our broadcast, dedicated to the wonderment, the beauty, the majesty of the Appalachian Mountains. And like Emmylou said, there's something happening out there that we want our audience to at least be aware of, because it is very important. It's a devastating thing to see, and someone who saw it recently is next up on our stage. He is a native of an Appalachian town of London, Kentucky. You may have seen him on a recent tour with none other than Robert Plant, but he's also written some of the most amazing and powerful songs about coal country. And I want to make something very clear. We're not complaining about the families that work and make their living and try to support their families. And we're not complaining about the honest men and women that are doing an honest job, but there is still something important happening that needs to be changed. And we're going to pursue that conversation musically with this fellow. We're very glad that he's here, and we'll talk to him a little bit after a song. It's a tune called I'll Never Leave Harlan Alive. Please welcome Daryl Scott to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio.
In the deep dark hills of eastern Kentucky, that's the place where I trace my bloodline. And it's there I read on a hillside gravestone, said you will never leave Harlan alive. Well, my granddad's dad walked down Cattle's Mountain, and he asked till he helped him to be his bride. Said, won't you walk with me out of the mouth of this holler, or we'll never leave Harlan alive. Where the sun comes up about 10 in the morning and the sun goes down about 3 every day, and you fill your cup with whatever bitter brew you drink, and you spend your life just thinking of how to get away. No one ever knew there was coal in them mountains till a man from the northeast arrived. Yeah, he was waving some $100 bills, and he said, I'll pay you for your minerals. But he never left Harlan alive. Her granny, she sold out cheap, and they moved out west of Pineville to a farm where big rich land river winds. Yeah, and I bet they danced them a jig, and they laughed and sang a new song. Who said we'd never leave Harlan alive? But But the times got hard and tobacco wasn't selling. And old Granddad knew what he'd do to survive. Yeah, he went and dug for Harlan coal and sent the money back to Granny. Oh, but he never left Harlan alive. Where the sun comes up about 10 in the morning and the sun goes down about 3 every day, and you fill your cup with whatever bitter brew you're drinking, and you spend your life digging coal from the bottom of your grave. In the deep dark hills of eastern Kentucky, that's the place where I trace my bloodline. And it's there I read on a hillside gravestone, said you will never leave Harlan alive.
Very powerful voice of Daryl Scott.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Daryl, you, from the Appalachian Mountains, you've seen these things, and you know what I'm talking about. The families that work in that since the days of Loretta Lynn and her dad, that was a coal miner, and she was proud of that. I mean, it's a painful dichotomy of the people who work there and then what's happening to the earth.
Yeah, and my great-grandparents, and for several generations, were coal miners, and that's what this song was about, is how they got from coal mining of Harlan County over to poor farming of Kentucky. But yeah, it's work for the people. And then there's this other thing that's going on. I mean, it's dangerous work, but it's different than sending, folks down into a mountain. Now there's something different going on these days.
The image of the coal miner, going like you said, deep down and stuff, that has really changed a lot the past couple decades, and you recently got to see it from an airplane.
Yeah, I was taking a flight from Nashville to Newark, New Jersey, flying over. I figured it must have been Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, and for 30 minutes we were flying over what I came to realize was mountaintop removal. And, at first I didn't know what it was because I'd never seen it with my eyes. But for 30 minutes, this jet airplane is going from south to north. And then I could see it with my own eyes, and I was really shocked.
And specifically what we're talking about is the systematic removal of the mountain layer by layer by layer, something new and something different. Well, we want to talk more to Daryl Scott. We're going to talk more to Emmylou Harris. We've got a very special guest who just won the Presidential Medal of Honor from President Barack Obama, the highest civilian award. We're very glad that he's here. We're going to meet him and his lovely wife and learn more about what Daryl Scott and Emmylou are talking about. Something is happening in the Appalachian Mountains. That's the subject of our show, and we'll be back right after this.
Hi, this is Jean Ritchie, and you're exploring the world of grassroots music with folk singer Michael Johnathon of the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And there's the Princess of Appalachia, Jean Ritchie, of course. So we have a very important subject that we're dedicating, not just this broadcast, but the next one. We have a very special guest that we want to talk about the details of what Emmylou and Daryl were just talking about, this systematic removal of the mountains throughout Appalachia. He was described, if I can paraphrase Rolling Stone magazine, if Mother Earth had a lawyer, it would be this guy. Please welcome John Adams and his wife Patricia. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Michael.
The Natural Resources Defense Council. Tell us what that is. That's something that you helped found in 1970.
That's right. It was the first Earth Day, and we were fighting about a mountain called Storm King. And they were going to chop it apart to build a pump storage plant. And a group of us, I was a lawyer at the U.S. Attorney's Office, I left, and we started the Natural Resources Defense Council. Lawyers and scientists, now 400 staff and over 1 million members. And we stand for mountains, and we stand for forests, and we stand for citizen action, and that's what it stands for.
And you, yeah, it's a lot of hard work. I remember the Storm King thing. I was just a little kid when that was happening because I lived in the Hudson Valley. I was Pete Seeger's neighbor in Beacon, New York, and I
remember you were small then.
Yeah, I was a tiny little guy. Remember me? I was the one going around. Who are you? So you did all this work, and oddly enough, you started the Natural Resources Defense Council the year the very first mountaintop was removed in North America, when this practice of destroying the mountains began. That's when you started your council. And you're here with your beautiful wife, Patricia, who's also an environmentalist and an author. So, Patricia, you're from the Appalachian Mountain.
Yes, I grew up in western North Carolina on land that's been in my family for now 7 generations. So John and I have been together working on the environment for 40 years with NRDC and in many other ways as well.
Well, that passion for Appalachia is near and dear to your heart. The passion for the environment is certainly near and dear to yours. And we want to talk about this idea of this dismantling of the Appalachian Mountains, what's happening. But first, we want to give our friend Jean Ritchie, we just heard her at the break, a voice. She wrote this beautiful song about the love and the beauty of the Appalachian Mountains called In the Cool of the Day, and we're going to let a young girl from East Kentucky sing it for us. Please welcome Madison Glover to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio.
Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and he walks in his garden in the cool of the day. My Lord, he said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the grasses green. Now return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and he walks in his garden in the cool of the day. Then my Lord, he said unto me, do you like my garden so free? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the people free. Now return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. This earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and he walks in his garden in the cool of the day.
Good job, Madison. Young Madison Glover. I'm here with John Adams, founder of the NRDC, a great protector of the earth and the environment. His beautiful wife, Patricia, is here as well. John, isn't it wonderful to hear the voice of the love of home, the love of community, the love of nature, the love of things like the mountains in the voice of young people?
Indeed it is, and boy, that's a beautiful voice. And it represents a lot to me, and that's one reason I'm down here, is because of that beautiful voice.
Well, and Madison did do a good job for a young girl. Now, Patricia, she did. Appalachia was your home, and that's what young Madison was singing about, and yet there's something happening out there. Can you describe to the audience specifically what we're talking about?
As I said, I grew up in western North Carolina, and the land has been in our family for 7 generations. And I feel very strongly about the mountains here and throughout Appalachia where mountaintop removal is taking place, because the mountains are actually removed, and that the trees are cut down and the stumps are uprooted, and then the soil is pushed over the edge into these beautiful, bold springs. Water is essential to us, and our mountains are essential to us. And I think we must all stand together to fight against sacrificing the earth. And I think we can, and I think John will talk about how uniting together, our voice can be heard. And fossil fuels and coal can be extracted from the earth, but there needs to be a better way, and a way that's not necessarily just cheap, but is also honors the earth.
Very good. John, let me ask a very practical question. We have an audience of nearly 2 million listeners. They're able to listen to us because of electricity. They're able to listen to us because of power. Power comes from several different sources, coal being one of them. I mean, does one protest too much?
Well, I think that we can get energy from lots of sources, and we can get energy from coal in better ways than they're doing by mountaintop removal. We need to look at efficiency, and we need to look at renewable energy, wind and solar, and all of those things that there are great efforts to now get for this country and for the rest of the world. In the meantime, we don't need to go to the ends of the earth for energy. We're now 25,000 feet down in the oceans. We're up in the tar sands, and we're fracking all over the country with poisons and billions of gallons of water. We've got to do a better way.
Specifically, what we're talking about, yeah? A better way is the theme of our show. We're not condemning an individual, but we're talking about something that needs to be changed, right? Over 500 mountains have been destroyed, enough square miles that it would cover the entire state of Delaware. 2,000 streams have been completely obliterated, and this is where the water in the Appalachian Mountains come from. And a process of the mining creates this thing called sludge, and there's been so much sludge spilled to poison the environment that the sludge spills are bigger than the BP oil spill in the Gulf.
That's true. And 1 million acres, over 1 million acres have been totally cut for this process, totally cut. And what happened to the 250 species of birds that used to live there, and the wildlife, and the people? Where are those people? They've been forced out of those valleys.
Let's thank John Adams and Patricia for being here. Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much. We're going to talk to John Adams and his wife Patricia, another special guest, in our next broadcast. But right now, we're so glad, very happy that a good friend of ours is able to come and lend her voice to the idea of doing something better to save the homelands, the communities, and the mountains themselves of Appalachia. She's going to do a great song called Win Your Love. Let's welcome her back. It's Emmylou Harris and the Red Dirt Boys on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
Only win your love, I'd make the most of everything. I'd proudly wear your wedding ring. My heart would never stray or dream away. If I could only win your love, I'd give my all to make you live. You'll never know you're gone away. Oh, how can I ever show how I burn inside when you hold me tight? If I could only win your love, I give my all to make it last. You'll never know how much I give if I could only win your love.
Emmylou Harris and the Red Dirt Boys. Emmylou, your voice is as strong and wonderful and beautiful and passionate as ever, and you just
Thank you.
keep on keeping on. You brought the subject up of mountaintop removal on the Grand Ole Opry not all that long ago.
Right.
And why?
Well, as I say, through friends of the NRDC, I was made aware of the this terrible. I mean, it's like blasphemous that's going on. And like most people, I think, unless you fly over it or unless you're from the area, it's even though it's kind of right in our backyard, we don't know about it. It's not getting coverage from CNN or any of the major news channels or anything like that. It's not really getting a lot of publicity. But I was made aware of it, and so, you know, wanting to at least use the platform that I have, you know, people let me get up on stage and sing, and then I get to talk about just about anything I want to. And at the Grand Ole Opry, one of the reasons I wanted to do it at the Grand Ole Opry, because the Grand Ole Opry is the mother church of country music. Everybody knows that. But as I mentioned earlier, the Appalachians and this area of the country is the sacred ground of country music. So I felt that there was really a connection of those two places, and I felt it was really important that people who play country music for a living, all people who love it, but especially artists who have a soapbox, so to speak, and make their living and love country music should become aware of this terrible thing that's happening and make the public aware, and with the strength and the passion of the NRDC and other people, I feel like we can stop it, we can make a difference. This is not an anti-coal campaign. I think that's what people think it is. It is not an anti-coal campaign. It's about blowing the tops off of mountains that took thousands of years to grow up from the earth, and a mountain range that is the oldest in North America, that actually seeded every single tree and shrub and plant that we have going out to the west. And we're desecrating these mountains for coal that can be gotten in another way without doing this irreparable damage. So I'm hoping that tonight is another way that we can communicate to people and get everyone on board to try to stop this terrible thing happening.
And you and I were talking over dinner last night. It's not just the mountain that is lost. It's the culture and the community.
Right. It is the culture, the community. I mean, the waters are polluted, but it just, you know, when you think about it, it's just a horrible devastation. I mean, the people's lives are being disrupted. This beautiful land. I mean, to me, it's a sacrilege. And it doesn't have to be. I mean, I understand we have to be practical and we need energy, but this is not going to end our ability to get coal. We've been getting coal in another way for many, many years. And so I want to reiterate, this is not an anti-coal campaign.
And that's true because, like we were talking with Daryl, I mean, so many families, you know, they've made their living in this industry. They've risked their lives to be able to do it. So it's certainly not condemning the individual family that is part of the culture and the community that we're talking about.
Right. I just think that there's a powerful people who can do this. They're like bullies in the schoolyard, you know, and they need to be stopped.
Well, half of the people that are able to listen to WoodSongs are able to do so because their electric co-op or their electric company, part of the supply of electricity that they're handing out, it comes from coal. Right. So specifically what we're talking about
is this detonation of these huge, beautiful mountains flattened and gone.
They're never going to come back, folks.
And when you fly over it like Darrell did, I'm sure you have, I know Kathy Mattea has, and several, you see what looks like an Armageddon hit the mountains.
It's like a moonscape, or it's like what you would imagine hell would look like.
Yeah.
It's really terrible.
And like you're pointing out very correctly, that there's better ways of doing things, and what we want is our audience to know two things. These mountains are precious and beautiful. And then what Emmylou is saying is correct. There's better ways of doing things. And that's what the thought process that we're encouraging here.
Right.
And you are going to treat us to a beautiful a cappella song.
Oh.
And
Well, I know, but I didn't know it was happening right now. They just let us know, sir, you're doing this and that. Michael is our conductor.
Do we need to bring a mic out for her, I think? Here we go.
This is actually a song that would have come from just what we're talking about, the culture of the mountains and the idea of a cappella singing. And by the way, that Jean Ritchie song was so beautifully performed. That was really...
That little girl,
yeah.
Madison Glover. We're so glad she came. Well, let's get Emmylou and the Red Dirt Boys in position here. She's going to do this beautiful Appalachian song. It's going to be sung a cappella with just their voices. It's called Bright Morning Stars. It's Emmylou Harris on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is the breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? They are down in the valley of prayer. Day is the breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear fathers? Oh, where are our dear fathers? They are gone to heaven shouting. Day is a breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul.
Wasn't it great having Emmylou Harris on our broadcast? Chris Donahue on bass, Phil Madeira, Ricky Simpkins on fiddle and mandolin. Of course, the wonderful Daryl Scott was here as well. We're very thankful to Daryl. Young little Madison Glover singing. John and Patricia Adams were here as well. And why were they here? Because we are celebrating the beauty and majesty of the Appalachian Mountains, this precious,
precious part of North America that is being threatened and systematically destroyed because of something called mountaintop removal. What we'd like you to do is to be able to Google this thing if you want. Go mountaintop removal on Google and see for yourself what is happening to these mountains. That's really the message that we're sending out, that there's something precious being harmed, and like Emmylou said, there's a better way of doing things. Over 500 of these mountains are gone, and there's more being destroyed. Did you know that every week enough dynamite is detonated in Appalachia, the collective explosion is bigger than the explosion over Hiroshima in Japan? That is how much activity there's going into the destruction of these mountains. Henry David Thoreau said something important. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. How much life are we willing to give to be able to save something that has been precious all of the history of North America? My name is Michael Johnathon. I'm a folk singer. I am a tree hugger. We're going to explore this on our next broadcast, so tune in again on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour. Thank you.
You've been listening to WoodSongs broadcast number 614. Michael's opening performance was the original song Front Porch, featuring Uni Toy on cello, Joe Nardolillo, Anna Hessa, Maggie Lander on violins, Steve Franken on viola, Ron Crowder on harmonica, and Bob Bryan on bass.
Our chief engineer is Kevin Darth Fader Johnson. Technical assistants are Brian Clausing, Brandon Eads, Eric Anderson, and Jerome Cyberboy Galt. Our television and internet broadcast is presented by Insight Communications and Asbury University, directed by Doug Smart and assisted by Camilla Olson and Jim Piston.
Thank you for tuning in. There are so many talented artists that appear on our stage. It's very hard sometimes to pick the ones that appear on our TV broadcast. So what we're going to do is leave you with a performance from our huge online archive of past shows. We'll see you next time on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
My Lord, he said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the grasses green, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and he walks in his garden in the cool of the day. Then my Lord, he said unto me, do you like my garden so pure? You may live in this garden if you keep the grasses, the waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and he walks in his garden in the cool of the day. Then my Lord, he said unto me, do you like my pastures of green? You may live.
Closed captioning provided by Highbridge Spring Water. WoodSongs is made possible by Visit Lex.com, providing information and activities to visitors of historic Lexington, Kentucky. The Martin Guitar Company in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, making handcrafted acoustic guitars since 1833. The Deering Banjo Company, providing American-made banjos for front porch pickers and professionals, online at deeringbanjos.com. And by Fransky String Instruments of Prairie Village, Kansas, online at mfstrings.com.